a great question, and something that can feel rather straightforward and simple, which it is, or very, very confusing and overwhelming because there's just so much information that's out there. It's hard to filter that for you personally. So one of the characteristics to think about is eating more whole food. So things that you can recognize the name of the ingredient if it's a package, or that you're picking ingredients, putting them in your shopping cart and bringing them home. In particular, easy go-to things would be fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, nice healthy foods like that, where you can eat the rainbow to get a variety of important nutrients. This is a question that we hear all the time, and we can think of this from a perspective of the available research and evidence looking at cancer prevention, as well as promoting survivorship. And really that foundation of a healthy diet and what we like to call a balanced plate, that's really the key starting point. So what that balanced plate means is that half of your plate comes from fruits and vegetables. The other half is split between a lean protein source and a healthy type of whole grain or healthy type of carbohydrate. So foods can kind of live in more than one category. Your protein could be something like fish, it could be a lean type of a meat like chicken, or it could be something like eggs, but it could also be plant-based. So that protein might be, say, lentils or beans. And your carbohydrate could also share some space with your vegetables and be something like a sweet potato. So already you can start to hear that there are a lot of options, and those colorful plant-based foods offer nutrients that can help to support our immune system. So in that way, they become very important whether you're thinking about helping to reduce your risk for developing cancer or helping to promote survivorship. Beyond that, there certainly are other foods that can be really healthy, and some of those might be particular to treatment, but overall, we're looking at having a healthy plant-based diet, as well as the importance of being physically active and maintaining a healthy weight. Those are two other key factors of wellness that relate to your diet that can also be beneficial when we're thinking about cancer. I love this question because it sounds like a simple question with a really complicated answer. There's actually a few great blog posts on our Dana-Farber site that go into a lot more detail on this topic, so I would encourage you to look at the Insight blog to read more. But in terms of sugar feeding cancer, what the research shows is that it's not a one-to-one relationship. So we'll often think of that concept like, for every cookie I eat, X number of cancer cells could grow. And it's not a linear relationship like that. We do absolutely want to encourage people to limit their intake of sugar, but I want to define that a little bit more. So when we say sugar, technically that encompasses a lot of things. So that may include things like candy and cookies, but that would also include the natural carbohydrates that are found in foods like fruit, or even in whole grains and other types of starches that may also be healthy. When we think about reducing sugar, and we think about reducing sugar even in the context of cancer, diabetes, heart disease, health and wellness, we're looking at something called added sugars. So soon, by next year sometime, food companies will be required to label added sugar on the food label. So you'll see total carbohydrates, you'll see dietary fiber, you'll see sugar, but you'll also see added sugar. So let's take yogurt as an example. So there's lactose and other kinds of natural sugars found in dairy in something like, say, Greek, plain Greek yogurt. Will still have some sugar because it's naturally found in that food. You can pick up yogurt in the aisle and it can have anywhere from 20 plus grams of sugar. What happens there is that a lot of that, the difference between the amount of sugar, like 8 to 12 grams in the plain Greek yogurt, and the amount of sugar in the flavored yogurt is added sugar. But if you didn't study nutrition, you wouldn't be able to necessarily figure that out, although nowadays everyone is getting so smart with their nutrition knowledge, which is exciting. But having that on the label will help. So when we think about the relationship of sugar and cancer and what should I do in my diet, it's focusing on having less of those added sugars, but still including like 1 or 2 servings of fruit a day as recommended. Fruit has a lot of important antioxidants and other vitamins and minerals, but looking at your overall plate balance and thinking about that. And then within that, there are certain types of cancers where there is a bit more research looking at that relationship between sugar and cancer, and that's what you can read more about on our site. Right now, there's a lot of exciting research looking at what we call our microbiome. And our microbiome is essentially kind of the world of healthy bacteria that live in our body, and a lot of those live in our gut. And so having a strong and just a healthy or a not depleted microbiome as like a global concept is something that's being looked at in terms of many health conditions, certainly not just cancer and at all, in many other areas. So getting a variety of foods, particularly locally grown plant-based foods, that's one strategy to help your microbiome. Eating a lot of just fruits and vegetables in general can help as well. For some people, taking a probiotic might be suggested, but as far as like a dietary supplement that you would buy in the vitamin aisle, being able to claim that it can prevent cancer, that relationship has not been established in an evidence-based perspective. So in terms of organic foods, the Environmental Working Group has an excellent resource called the Dirty Dozen Plus. And so you can see foods that tend to carry more pesticides versus those that tend to have less. So for example, you may not need to purchase an organic banana because we're not going to be eating the skin. Having said that, that's a guideline. There's no requirement to eat 100% organic in order to be healthy. It really is a personal choice, but it's definitely something to consider. Going back to thinking about the microbiome, another reason to look at having local foods is that many small farms may not have to use the same kinds of pesticides and other items of concern. So looking for local options. And then for foods like fish, or meat, or eggs, or chicken, we also have a lot more detail in the Insight blog on what are the differences between wild fish and farm-raised fish, grass-fed meat, organic meat, regular meat, eggs. We have like 4 or 5 different categories to think about. So oftentimes people feel more confident, or there may certainly be reasons why those organic foods might be helpful for an individual, but it's something to try to think about, not necessarily as an all or nothing, because you do want to also consider things like budget, access, availability, and really start to look at cooking more often and having local foods is kind of your first choice.